I know no one's probably told you this, but your emotional eating is not a self-control issue. Conventional diets are not going to help you. So in this video, I'm going to explain to you what emotional eating really is, why it keeps on happening, and more importantly, the things that you need to do that probably no one's explained to you before, and to stop it from keep on happening time and time again. And trust me, it's got nothing to do with lack of willpower or discipline or self-control. You might not even be aware of why emotional eating even happens in the first place. This applies to anything. So it can apply to using food to comfort yourself, using alcohol, gambling, shopping. It's I feel an emotion that I don't like and I don't want to feel, and I use something to help numb myself. So you are using food to take away that feeling as quickly as possible. So at some point in your life, you have learned that food helps take away difficult emotions. Normally in your childhood, you would have been given food or you've used food in some way to numb yourself. And then so that plays out in your adult life as well. Now, when we do this, it's often followed by guilt and shame. So we understand that what we're doing isn't really serving us. We understand that what we're doing isn't conducive to the life that we're trying to build for ourselves, but we feel powerless to stop it because at that point in time, you haven't been given any other tools to help you manage the emotion difference. So you've got the trigger that has triggered you. There's a feeling that you don't want to feel. You'll then use the coping mechanism that you normally use. So again, in this instance, we're talking about emotional eating. So we're using this food as comfort. And then we feel guilt and shame for doing it because we do understand that it doesn't make us feel better. Very often when clients emotionally eat, they say, I feel like crap after doing it. So it doesn't make us feel good. It just temporarily numbs us. So now not only do we have the trigger, so we have the emotion that triggered us in the first place, but now we have guilt and shame on top of it. But we don't have any other way, because we haven't learned any other way to manage our emotions. So then we do it some more. So then this keeps us in that perpetual loop that we can't seem to get out of. And what we need to learn to do is manage our emotions differently. And this is the reason why every single diet plan that you've been put on so far probably hasn't worked for you, because no one's taught you how to manage your emotions. It is not a self-control issue. So if you've been given macros or rules to follow or calorie targets, none of that is going to help when you become dysregulated. So when you start your diet, you're probably full of motivation and you're thinking, right, this time it's going to be different. And initially, it probably is, until something happens where you become triggered. So you'll have a day where you're stressed, or work is stressful, or your kids are driving you up the wall, and then you're going to use food to comfort yourself, because it's at that point, it's going to feel almost like you're powerless to stop it. It's going to feel so instinctive because you've repeated it so many times, which by the way, is a really good, is a good sign. It's a good thing, because all it is a repeated pattern of behavior. So something that you've done so often that it feels natural by this point, which is great, because what it means is if we do something different and we repeat it enough times, you can actually break it. That becomes your new normal. So if you're someone that struggles with this, I know you can feel like you're beyond change, but you're really not. It's just about knowing how to manage it, and then what we actually need to practice instead in order for us to break this cycle. And if we don't learn to manage our emotions, what is going to happen, especially if you're someone who's trying to lose weight or trying to maintain your weight long term, you are going to keep getting triggered, and you're going to keep on using food as your form of comfort. No matter what you're given, it doesn't matter whether you're given a really strict diet plan to follow, because it is not to do with self-control or discipline. Your body is becoming dysregulated. Imagine if you're anxious about something, you're often telling yourself to calm down. Does that make you feel calmer? Very often not, because logically you can understand that there might be nothing to feel fearful about in that moment, but your body is becoming dysregulated. So unless we learn how to regulate our central nervous system, rather than viewing it as just like a mental thing that we can just think our way out of, it's going to keep on cropping up, and we're not going to be able to manage that emotion effectively. So then we are going to use things that we've learned before numb us temporarily, because no one really wants to sit in uncomfortable emotions. And so the work here is about not only allowing ourselves to sit in uncomfortable emotions a little bit longer, so expanding what's called our window of tolerance, which I'll talk about in a minute, but also it's about learning how to manage the emotion rather than numb the emotion or suppress it. The thing is, whenever we suppress emotions, they always find a way of coming out in a different way. And that's what happens when we emotionally eat. And it's so important that you address this, because no matter what you do, this is going to keep on cropping up until you take the time to learn how to self-soothe and how to manage your emotions. You're not going to get the results that you want in terms of weight loss and successful weight management until you learn to do this. So we have have what's called our optimal window of tolerance. And when we are in our optimal window of tolerance, we're able to handle life's ups and downs a little bit better. This doesn't mean that you are never going to become dysregulated ever again. You're actually going to have multiple times during your day where you do become dysregulated. It's totally normal. I feel like there's this really unrealistic expectation placed on us with a toxic positivity kind of mindset where we are meant to just be in a constant state of zen and well-being. So no matter what's happening in our lives, we're meant to just be okay with it and happy with it and put a positive spin on it. It's almost like, like Ross in Friends when he's like, I'm fine. But what we do want to do is become more aware of when we're moving out of our window of tolerance and going into a hyper arousal or hypo-arousal state, and how to bring ourselves effectively back into our optimal window of tolerance so that we're able to handle life a little bit better. And then this is also going to mean then that we're going to be less likely to emotionally eat, because we're going to have other tools in place to help us manage life better. So then not only are you going to be able to lose weight and keep it off by learning how to do this, it's also going to benefit the people that you love as well, because if you're able to regulate yourself, you're going to show up better for the people that you love. And especially if you've got kids as well, if you're able to regulate yourself effectively most of the time, then you're going to be such a fantastic example to your children on how to do that as well. So even if doing this sounds like a bit of hard work initially for you, think about the benefit that it's going to have for all the people that you love around you, because that sometimes could be such a fantastic motivation for us to do the hard things so that we get the benefits from them, but also other people that we love get the benefits from it as well. Like I say, we have our optimal window of tolerance, and then we can even notice where we're going into a hyper arousal state, which is things like anger, stress, anxiety, so like more sort of pent up energy. And then we have hypo arousal, which is shut down, depressed, sadness. And the key to this, first of all, is starting to understand where you feel that in your body and the early warning signs that you're starting to move out of your window of tolerance. So becoming aware of when you're feeling a little bit anxious or angry or agitated, and you're starting to move out of your window of tolerance, or if you're starting to feel a bit shut down and sad, where do you feel that in your body? So getting out of your head and into your body. Remember, it's not something you can think your way out of. It's your body becoming dysregulated. So try and think about it in two separate kind of things, that you're actually working to regulate your body first, and then we're able to think a little bit more clearly and make a bit more of an informed choice once we've done that. If we try and do it, the informed choice before the regulation, it doesn't work out too well for us. These are the things that you're going to want to do to help move you back into your optimal window of tolerance and help regulate your central nervous system. Once our body is feeling a little bit more regulated, then we can start to understand, what is it that I'm truly feeling? So I get clients to use what's called the feelings wheel. The more we're able to articulate what it is that we're feeling, the more able we are then to be able to manage the feeling better. This has been backed up by studies. And then also be able to reach the need behind the emotion, because that's what it's really about. There is a need that is being unmet. So there is an emotion that is often being suppressed, and because we're not reaching the need, we're using something to numb ourselves instead, to take the feeling away as quickly as possible. So we want to start to learn how to reach our own needs. Now, this can be something that feels completely alien to you in the beginning, because very often, if you're somebody who struggles with emotional eating, you learned somewhere along the line that your needs didn't matter. You learned somewhere along the line that your emotions didn't matter. Very often in childhood, you were shut down and your emotions were suppressed. Maybe you was told that you was too much, or you was too clingy, or you was too whingy. And so what you've done is you've learned, actually, my emotions aren't safe and my needs don't really matter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut them down and suppress them. But like I said earlier, suppressed emotions and suppressed needs find another way out. They don't just go away. It's going to mean that we're going to be able to learn how to self-soothe and to be able to manage our emotions effectively without using food as our only form of comfort. The feelings wheel is actually really helpful for a lot of people, because most people don't know what it is that they're truly feeling. When you ask someone how you're feeling, we're often only able to name things like sad, happy, angry, but everything else, we don't always have the words to articulate it. So we want to kind of expand our emotional vocabulary so that then we can understand how to reach that need. Because let's say you're sad because you feel lonely. That's going to be a very different need to sadness because of grief. So both of those emotions can amount to sadness, but the need behind them is going to be very, very, very different. So to be able to articulate effectively what you're actually feeling means you're going to be able to reach the need a lot easier. If you can't articulate fully what you're feeling, then you're probably going to do things to try and reach the need that aren't really going to help you, and that's why it's not going to help you actually feel better. By the way, the aim is not to completely eradicate the behavior. We all emotionally eat or comfort eat from time to time. It's totally normal. We're not looking to do the all or nothings. We're just here to help reduce it overall so that you have different ways to manage difficult areas of your life rather than just relying on food as your only form of comfort. So first of all, we want to start to understand what it feels like in our body, get out of our heads and into our body. So what are the physical sensations that you're starting to become aware of? And this is really about reconnecting to your body, and it does take a little bit of time as well. So if you're somebody who is, again, you've learned to suppress your emotions and kind of shut down what it is that you're feeling and become disconnected from your body, this is a practice. So don't expect to nail this after watching this video straight away, because it's going to be something you've got to kind of relearn. But we want to start to become more aware of what is it I'm feeling in my body that tells me I'm starting to go into that hyper or hyperarousal state. Then we want to use some kind of tool to help regulate our central nervous system. So remember, we can't just think our way out of it. We want to get into our body and we want to regulate our body first, because from that place we are going to be able to make more informed decisions. Now we're feeling a little bit more regulated, we can start to understand, okay, what is it that I'm actually feeling here? And then we want to ask, how can I reach that need? So what things can I do that's going to help me reach the need that's coming up from this trigger? And this is also where we need that balance between gentle and fierce compassion. A lot of times people don't trust a compassionate approach because they think it's going to be wishy-washy. They think that compassion just means doing what feels better in that moment. And that is categorically not what compassion is. Compassion is not the same as enabling behaviors. So compassion is a mixture of gentle and fierce. So when we are emotionally eating, for example, the gentle compassion would be the acknowledgement that we all do this from time to time, because why would you not? If you haven't learned any other way to manage your emotions, how are you expecting yourself to be able to manage them differently? This has got to be a practice. This is going to be something that you learn to do, and that's okay. But then we want to back it up with the fierce compassion. So the fierce compassion is, what is the next supportive step that I can take to help me manage this better so that it doesn't keep on happening? And that is the bit that a lot of times people leave out when they're being compassionate, or where they think they're being compassionate. If we just acknowledge that it's difficult, or be kind to ourselves, that's the other things that people often say, I'm just going to be kind to myself because I've done this. If it's not backed up with the fierce compassion, it becomes enabling. And enabling actually keeps us stuck in repeated patterns because we're not taking the action necessary to help alleviate the suffering. So I hope you found this video helpful. We do go into emotional eating and overeating in weeks 3 and 4 on the 8-week compassionate weight loss program. So again, if you want more details, I'll pop it into the caption. So hopefully this has helped, and I'll catch up with you guys soon.